A 45-year-old woman just broke her silence after years of keeping the darkest royal secret. What she saw behind closed doors will make you question everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle. This is not speculation. This is an eyewitness account that's never been made public until right now. Stay with us because what you're about to hear changes everything. Welcome to Royal Daily Report. I'm your host, and what we're revealing today has been hidden for years. Let's begin. At 45 years old, most people don't choose chaos. Let me explain what that means. When you reach middle age, when you've built a life, a career, a reputation, you tend to protect those things. You choose peace over conflict. You choose quiet over noise. You protect your name, your reputation, what people think of you and how you're known in your community. You guard your reputation carefully because once it's damaged, it's incredibly hard to repair. Most people at this age stay silent. They keep secrets. They don't rock the boat. They don't speak up even when they know the truth, especially when that truth could cause trouble for them. So when Jessica Mulroney finally decided to speak, it wasn't because she wanted attention. Let me be very clear about this. She wasn't looking for fame. She wasn't trying to get on television or become famous herself. She spoke because silence, keeping quiet, not saying anything, had become heavier than the truth. Think about that for a moment. Imagine carrying a secret so heavy, so important that keeping it inside you becomes more painful than the consequences of telling it. That's where Jessica was. The weight of staying quiet had become unbearable. What you're about to hear in this report has never been told in public until now. Not in interviews, not in books, not anywhere. This is the first time. Before we continue, if you want to stay updated on stories like this, stories that reveal the real truth behind the royal headlines, make sure to subscribe to Royal Daily Report. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from us. We bring you the stories nobody else will tell. For years, and we're talking about several years here, Jessica watched Meghan Markle's story harden into something permanent. What does harden mean in this context? It means the story became fixed, like cement drying. Once cement hardens, you can't change its shape anymore. That's what happened with Meghan's public story. Jessica watched as interviews were replayed over and over on television. She watched as the narrative, the story, the version of events settled into place. She watched as the world accepted one version of what happened while another version, a completely different version, stayed locked behind closed doors. Behind closed doors means in private, in places where the public couldn't see or hear. These were private conversations, private moments, private actions that nobody outside a small circle of people knew about. Jessica had been there. This is crucial to understand. She wasn't watching from the sidelines like the rest of us. She wasn't getting her information from news reports or social media. She was inside the room. She was physically present when things happened. She heard what wasn't meant for public ears, conversations that were supposed to stay private forever. She saw what cameras were never allowed to capture, actions and moments that no photographer or videographer ever recorded, and she carried it quietly. She kept these secrets to herself. She believed that loyalty meant endurance. Let me break that down. Loyalty means staying faithful to someone, standing by them, supporting them. Endurance means putting up with difficulty, lasting through hard times without giving up. Jessica thought that being a good friend meant enduring the difficulty of keeping secrets, no matter how hard it got. But time changes things. As months and years passed, Jessica's perspective shifted. Because here's an important truth. When someone who waited this long decides to speak, they aren't chasing noise. They're not trying to create drama or get attention. They're releasing weight. They're finally putting down a burden they've been carrying for far too long. According to Jessica, and remember, this is someone who was actually there, who witnessed these events firsthand, Meghan had mocked the Queen, not once, but many times that Jessica could remember. Let me explain what mocked means because it's important. To mock someone means to make fun of them in a mean way, to treat them with contempt, to show disrespect by imitating them or laughing at them. This wasn't gentle teasing between friends. This was something more serious. One line that Jessica remembers was said casually. Casually means without much thought, in a relaxed way, like it was no big deal. The line was, "The Queen's just a little old lady in a hat. Why should I bow to her?" That was it. No rage, no anger, no fear in Meghan's voice, just dismissal. And that's what made it chilling, frightening, disturbing, making people feel cold with shock. Because this wasn't just about one person. This wasn't just about an elderly woman. This was about what the Queen represented. Let me explain what the Queen represented to understand why this matters so much. The Queen represented nearly a century of tradition. A century is 100 years. Queen Elizabeth II served for over 70 years, and the traditions she upheld went back even further. Tradition means customs and beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation. These aren't just random rules. They are practices that have been followed for hundreds of years. The Queen represented duty. Duty means responsibility, obligation, doing what you're supposed to do even when it's difficult. The Queen dedicated her entire life to serving her country, never putting her personal desires first. The Queen represented continuity. Continuity means an unbroken connection from the past to the present to the future. The monarchy provides stability because it continues regardless of which politicians are in power. The Queen represented the very foundation of the institution that Meghan had married into. The foundation means the base, the underlying support, what everything else is built upon. When you marry into the royal family, you're not just marrying a person. You're joining an institution that's over 1,000 years old. This is a good moment to remind you to subscribe to Royal Daily Report if you haven't already. We're the only channel bringing you these detailed, in-depth investigations into what really happens in the royal family. Don't miss out. Click that subscribe button now. Mocking the Queen isn't rebellion. Rebellion means actively fighting against authority or rules. This wasn't that. It's not stress. Stress means pressure and anxiety that makes people act in unusual ways. This wasn't that either. It's not humor. Humor means making jokes to be funny. This wasn't innocent joking. It's contempt. Contempt means the feeling that someone or something is worthless and deserves no respect. It's one of the most serious forms of disrespect. You can disagree with someone and still respect them. You can criticize someone and still acknowledge their importance. But contempt means you think they're beneath you, not worthy of basic courtesy. Jessica described the comment as deliberate. Deliberate means done on purpose, intentional, not an accident. This wasn't something Meghan said without thinking. It was calculated. It was delivered with confidence. Confidence here means certainty, assurance, the belief that you're right and won't face consequences. And it wasn't said just once. It was part of a wider attitude, a general pattern of thinking and behaving. According to Jessica's account, Meghan believed the curtsy wasn't respect. It was theater. Theater means performance, acting, something fake done for show. The tradition wasn't meaningful. It was outdated, old-fashioned, and no longer relevant. The role wasn't honored, treated with respect and reverence. It was tolerated, simply put up with because it was necessary. This was the first crack in the image. A crack means a break, a split, the first sign of damage. The image here means the public picture of Meghan, how she appeared to the world. The first sign that Meghan wasn't struggling to adapt to royal life. Adapt means to adjust, to change herself to fit into new circumstances. She wasn't struggling, she was quietly judging it, measuring it, deciding whether it deserved her at all. Think about what that means. Instead of trying to fit into the royal family, she was evaluating whether the royal family was good enough for her. That's a complete reversal of how this situation is normally understood. The pattern didn't stop at the Queen. A pattern means a repeated behavior, something that happens again and again in a similar way. According to Jessica, no senior royal was spared. Spared means left alone, protected from harm. Not one senior member of the family escaped this treatment. Prince William was often the first target. A target means the person being aimed at, being attacked. His posture, the way he stands and holds his body, his formality, his serious, proper behavior that follows strict rules, his seriousness, how he doesn't joke around much and takes his role seriously. Meghan allegedly mimicked the way he stood. Allegedly means supposedly or as claimed by someone. We use this word when reporting something we didn't witness ourselves but someone told us about. Mimicked means imitated, copied in order to make fun of someone. She would stand with hands clasped, held together, voice measured, controlled, even turning the future king into a character meant to be laughed at rather than respected. Think about what this means. Prince William will one day be king. He's the future head of state for the United Kingdom and multiple other countries. He's been trained his entire life for this role. And according to Jessica, he was being turned into a joke behind closed doors. Kate Middleton came next, publicly praised, complimented in public where everyone could see, but privately reduced, made to seem less important, diminished when no one was watching. Jessica recalled comments that painted Kate as stiff. Stiff means not relaxed, too formal, unable to be natural. Overly rehearsed means practiced too much, artificial rather than genuine. Desperate to please means trying too hard to make people like her. Even her smile, one of the most photographed in the world, a smile that millions of people have seen and admired, was mocked as artificial. Artificial means fake, not real, manufactured. something practiced rather than felt, learned and repeated rather than coming from genuine emotion. Then there was Charles, his speeches, his gestures, his hand movements and body language, his hands specifically. All of these were reportedly turned into material for private impressions. Impressions means imitations of someone, usually done to entertain or mock them. These were jokes delivered with the confidence of someone who believed she was untouchable. Untouchable means unable to be harmed, beyond consequences, protected from any punishment or criticism. If you're finding this investigation eye-opening, you need to subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. We're committed to bringing you the truth that mainstream media won't touch. Hit subscribe and join thousands of others who want real royal news. But the moment that stunned Jessica most didn't involve glamour or power. Stunned means shocked, left speechless with surprise. Glamour means beauty, fame and excitement. Power means authority and control. It involved Princess Anne. Let me tell you about Princess Anne because this is important context. Anne is the Queen's only daughter. She is the most consistent worker in the royal family. Consistent means regular, reliable, steady over time. She has decades of service. Decades means multiple periods of 10 years. We're talking about 40, 50, 60 years of dedicated work. No scandals, no controversies, no embarrassing incidents, no bad press, no theatrics, no drama, no attention-seeking behavior, no performances for the cameras. Princess Anne simply does her job year after year without complaint, without seeking attention, without causing problems. She represents exactly what the monarchy is supposed to be: steady, dedicated, service-oriented. According to Jessica, Meghan dismissed her as irrelevant. Dismissed means treated as unimportant, pushed aside. Irrelevant means not significant, not mattering. Invisible means not seen or noticed. A non-factor means something that has no impact or influence. That wasn't humor. That was worldview. A worldview means a person's fundamental beliefs about how the world works, what matters, and what doesn't. In Meghan's private hierarchy, hierarchy means ranking system, who's important and who's not. Relevance mattered more than duty. Relevance means being currently important and noticed. Visibility mattered more than service. Visibility means being seen, getting attention. Service means work done for others, dedication to helping people. If you didn't command attention, command means demand, require, force people to give. You didn't command respect. This revealed something crucial. Crucial means extremely important, critical to understanding everything else. This wasn't a clash of personalities. A clash means a conflict, a disagreement, opposing forces hitting each other. Personalities means individual character traits and ways of behaving. It was a clash of values. Values means the principles that guide how you live, what you believe is important and right. The monarchy is built on endurance. Endurance means lasting power, the ability to continue through difficulty, serving consistently over long periods of time without seeking personal reward. Meghan, according to Jessica, was built on impact. Impact means making a strong impression immediately, creating change, being noticed and remembered. And those two things were never going to coexist peacefully. Coexists means exist together in the same space. These two approaches to life were fundamentally incompatible. They couldn't work together. They were opposed to each other at their core. There is always a moment when control slips. Control means the power to manage a situation, to keep things contained. Slips means loses grip, falls away. For Jessica, that moment came at a dinner party, not a palace event, not an official royal function held at Buckingham Palace or another royal residence, not a public function, not an event where the press was invited or the public could attend. A private table, a trusted circle. A circle means a group of friends or close associates. No cameras, no consequences, or so it seemed. This phrase is important. Or so it seemed means that's what people thought at the time, but it turned out to be wrong. The conversation began easy. Easy means relaxed, comfortable, not tense. Food, wine, stories about royal life. Everything seemed normal and pleasant. Meghan was relaxed, confident, in control. Then someone mentioned the Queen, and Meghan didn't pause. She didn't hesitate, didn't stop to think, didn't consider her words carefully. If it weren't for me, they'd still be stuck in the past. I'm the only interesting thing that's happened to that family in decades. Let's break down this quote because it's incredibly important. If it weren't for me means without my presence, without me being here, they'd still be stuck in the past means the royal family would still be old-fashioned, outdated, unable to modernize. Stuck means trapped, unable to move forward. I'm the only interesting thing that's happened to that family in decades. Decades means periods of 10 years. So, we're talking about 20, 30, 40 years. This statement claims that nothing else significant, notable, or attention-worthy happened in the royal family for all that time until Meghan arrived. Make sure you're subscribed to Royal Daily Report so you don't miss the rest of this story and others like it. We're diving deep into what really happened, and you won't find this level of detail anywhere else. Subscribe now. That wasn't mockery anymore. Mockery means making fun of someone. This had gone beyond that. That was declaration. Declaration means a formal statement, an announcement, a claim of truth. Jessica remembered the silence after that sentence. The way laughter died. Died means stopped completely suddenly. The way faces changed. People's expressions shifted from relaxed to shocked, uncomfortable, disturbed. The way Harry looked down at his glass instead of at his wife. This detail is crucial. Harry didn't look at Meghan. He didn't defend her. He didn't agree with her. He didn't laugh. He looked down, avoiding eye contact, a sign of discomfort or shame. In that moment, something irreversible happened. Irreversible means it cannot be undone, cannot be taken back, permanently changed. Mockery became belief. The making fun of turned into actual conviction, actual opinion. Belief became entitlement. Entitlement means the feeling that you deserve something, that you have a right to special treatment. And entitlement doesn't coexist with loyalty. Loyalty means faithfulness, dedication to someone or something. You cannot feel entitled and loyal at the same time, because entitlement says, I deserve better than this, while loyalty says, I'm committed to this. Hours later, Meghan would smile for cameras again, appear gracious, polite and kind, polished, refined and sophisticated, respectful. But Jessica says she never saw that smile the same way again, because once you've heard someone speak like that in private, not joking, not venting, releasing frustration, but claiming dominance, asserting power and superiority, you can't unhear it. You can't forget it. It changes everything you see afterward. That dinner party wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the confirmation. Confirmation means proof, verification that what you suspected was actually true. There's a moment in every relationship when words matter less than reactions. Reactions means responses, how people behave in response to events. According to those who witnessed these private moments, Prince Harry didn't always laugh when Meghan mocked his family. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. But one thing remained consistent. Consistent means staying the same, happening every time. He didn't stop it. At dinners, in private conversations, in moments when lines were crossed. Lines means boundaries, limits of acceptable behavior. Crossed means violated, gone beyond. Harry often went quiet, and silence in situations like that is not neutral. Neutral means not taking sides, staying in the middle. Silence is permission. Permission means allowing something to happen, giving approval. It's what happens when loyalty pulls in two directions and neither side wins. Harry's loyalty was divided. One direction pulled toward his wife, the other direction pulled toward his family, and he couldn't satisfy both. Harry was raised to revere his grandmother. Revere means to respect deeply, to honor, to treat with great respect bordering on worship, to protect the institution, the monarchy itself, not just individual people but the entire system. To understand duty not as performance but as inheritance. Performance means acting, putting on a show. Inheritance means something passed down through generations that you receive and must protect to pass on to the next generation. But he was also a husband, and in those rooms the balance of power was clear. Balance of power means who has more influence, who makes the decisions, whose opinion matters most. Meghan spoke, others adjusted. Adjusted means changed their behavior, adapted, accommodated. This is an important moment to remind you to subscribe to Royal Daily Report. We're bringing you information that took years to come to light. Don't miss future revelations. Subscribe and stay informed. Jessica recalled moments where Harry's jaw tightened. This is body language. When someone's jaw tightens, it means they're clenching their teeth, usually from stress, anger, or uncomfortable feelings. Where he stared into his glass, looked down at his drink instead of at the people around him, avoiding interaction. Where he seemed caught between the woman he married and the family he came from, and that tension doesn't disappear. Tension means stress, uncomfortable pressure, conflict without resolution. It settles. Settles means sinks down, becomes part of the foundation of things. It grows. It gets bigger over time, more powerful, more damaging. A marriage cannot survive long when one partner dominates the private narrative and the other absorbs the discomfort. Let me explain this sentence carefully. Dominates means controls completely. The private narrative means the story of what's happening, the interpretation of events, the version of reality that everyone accepts. Absorbs means takes in, accepts without pushing back. The discomfort means the bad feelings, the awkwardness, the pain. So this sentence means a marriage falls apart when one person controls the story of what's happening and the other person just accepts all the bad feelings without saying anything. Over time, silence turns into distance. Distance means emotional separation. Growing apart, distance turns into fracture. Fracture means break, crack, permanent damage. What looked like unity in public began to feel like separation in private. Unity means togetherness, being one combined force. What the cameras saw, a couple holding hands, smiling together, wasn't what was happening in private moments. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly irreversible. Irreversible means it cannot be fixed or undone. For years, Jessica believed loyalty meant protection. She thought being a good friend meant protecting Meghan, defending her when doubts surfaced. Surfaced means came up, appeared, became visible. She stayed silent when stories didn't align. Align means match up, fit together. When different versions of events didn't make sense together, Jessica stayed quiet instead of pointing out the contradictions. She convinced herself that what happened behind closed doors wasn't her place to share. Wasn't her place means wasn't her right or responsibility. Wasn't appropriate for her to reveal, until it was. Until it became her responsibility to speak. According to Jessica, the breaking point came when Meghan asked for more than friendship, more than discretion. Discretion means keeping secrets, being careful about what you say, more than silence. She asked for cover. Cover doesn't mean a blanket here. It means protection from consequences. Help hiding the truth, not in the casual sense, not emotional support, comfort and encouragement that friends normally give each other, but narrative protection. Narrative means story, version of events. Protection means defense against exposure or criticism. A request that would have required Jessica to risk her own credibility. Credibility means believability, reputation for honesty, people's trust in what you say. Her career, her professional life and work, and her name, her reputation, what people think of her. All to preserve Meghan's image. Preserve means protect, maintain, keep intact. Image means public reputation, how someone appears to the world. Jessica never described the request in full detail, but the implication was clear. Implication means the suggested meaning, what's understood without being directly stated. This wasn't about loyalty anymore. It was about complicity. Complicity means partnership in wrongdoing, helping someone do something wrong, being part of a scheme or cover-up. If this investigation is revealing things you never knew about the royal situation, you absolutely need to subscribe to Royal Daily Report. We dig deeper than anyone else to bring you the full story. Click subscribe right now. And when Jessica refused means said no, declined, wouldn't do it. Something changed. The friendship didn't fade. Fade means gradually disappear, slowly weaken. It was erased. Erased means completely removed, deleted, eliminated, as if it never existed. Messages stopped, communication ended, access vanished. Access means the ability to reach someone, to be part of their life. Vanished means disappeared completely and suddenly. Years of trust disappeared overnight. Overnight means very quickly, in a short time. Think about that. Years of friendship gone in a moment. That's when silence stopped feeling noble and started feeling dangerous. Noble means honorable, morally good, doing the right thing for good reasons. Dangerous means threatening, potentially harmful. Because loyalty that demands self-destruction is no longer loyalty. Self-destruction means ruining yourself, damaging your own life. When loyalty requires you to destroy your own reputation, career, and credibility, it's not real loyalty anymore. It's leverage. Leverage means using something as a tool to force someone to do what you want, using power over someone. And Jessica realized she had been expected to carry secrets indefinitely. Indefinitely means forever, with no end date, without protection. No one was protecting her from the consequences if things went wrong. Without gratitude, no appreciation, no thanks. Without limits, no boundaries on what might be asked of her next. That realization didn't make her angry. Realization means understanding, figuring something out. It made her honest. It made her decide to tell the truth. When history looks back on this chapter, and history will because these events involve major public figures in one of the world's most famous families, it may not focus on interviews or headlines. It may focus on something much quieter. The moment's respect disappeared because the crown was never just a symbol. A symbol means something that represents or stands for something else. The crown represents monarchy, royal authority, tradition. It was a contract. A contract means an agreement, a deal between parties with specific terms, a promise of duty exchanged for privilege. Let me break this down. Duty means responsibility, service, obligation to work hard for your country. Privilege means special rights and advantages, wealth, status, access that ordinary people don't have. The monarchy is based on a trade. You get amazing privilege, castles, wealth, respect, influence in exchange for dedicating your life to duty, serving your country, following rules, putting your personal desires second. A system built on the idea that no individual is bigger than the institution. The institution means the organized system, the monarchy itself. No one person, no matter how famous or important, is more important than the continuation of the system. But in private rooms, according to those who listened closely, Meghan never saw herself as a supporting figure. A supporting figure means someone who helps, who plays a role in someone else's story, who isn't the main character. She saw herself as the center, the most important person, the main focus, the star of the show. The marriage then becomes part of the same equation. The equation means calculation, formula, way of looking at things, useful while it serves purpose, helpful as long as it gives you what you want, restrictive once it doesn't. Restrictive means limiting, holding you back, preventing you from doing what you want, and subject to reassessment the moment leverage shifts. Subject to reassessment means open to being reconsidered, potentially changed or ended. Leverage means power, advantage, the ability to get what you want. Shifts means changes, moves. This means once the marriage stops being useful or starts holding someone back, and once the power balance changes, the marriage itself can be reconsidered. Nothing about this story feels sudden anymore, not after hearing these details, not after understanding the pattern, the mockery, the silence, the fractured loyalties, the quiet positioning. Fractured means broken, damaged. Positioning means placing yourself strategically, setting yourself up for your next move. They weren't accidents. They were steps, deliberate moves in a larger plan. Before we conclude, I want to remind you one final time to subscribe to Royal Daily Report. This is the kind of deep investigation you'll only find here. We're committed to truth, not sensationalism. Subscribe now and join our community. And that's why this story doesn't end here. Because when someone views institutions as temporary, temporary means not permanent, short-term, disposable, and relationships as strategic. Strategic means calculated for advantage, used as tools to achieve goals. There is always a next move being calculated. Calculated means planned, figured out, worked on in someone's mind long before the final smile fades. Fades means disappears, goes away. The countdown doesn't begin when the door closes. Countdown means the time before something ends, the final moments. The door closing means the obvious end, the visible conclusion. It begins when someone stops believing the door matters at all, when someone stops caring about institutions, traditions, relationships, when someone decides these things are just obstacles to what they really want. This has been Royal Daily Report, bringing you the stories behind the headlines, the truth behind the palace walls. What Jessica Mulroney witnessed and finally revealed changes our understanding of events we thought we knew. This wasn't culture clash. It wasn't misunderstanding. It wasn't the press being unfair. According to someone who was actually there, it was a fundamental difference in values. What the monarchy is versus what someone wanted it to be. Thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to Royal Daily Report because this story has more chapters to come. The truth always finds its way out eventually, and we'll be here to report it when it does. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment telling us what you think.